In this video, we will be reviewing the Goldbot 1 MT5 by Mr. Wim Schreinermakers of Perfalgo Limited. This video is sponsored by Prosperity Algo and our free Golden Time Bomb Expert Advisor. Do you want to make 100+% annual returns through automating the London breakout and the opening range breakout? Then click the link in the description. So we can start off here on the sales page to get an idea of how this bot works. I was really excited to do this review as Wim is one of the most renowned developers on the MT5 marketplace, and he has developed quite a few bots like the Gold Reaper and the Gold Trade Pro and a few ones that trade other asset classes. I think like Luna is one, or he has a Bitcoin bot too. And this is his new one, and it's currently on sale for a very good price. So I thought that perhaps some of our viewers would be interested in a review. And what I'm really curious here as to how this bot varies from his previous bots, particularly that it's at a fairly low price point. So I'm curious as to maybe he's running more of a cheaper, less sophisticated bot, or perhaps it's just currently quite cheap because it's new and there's not too much of a live signal yet. So I'm excited to dive in and see what it does. So we can see here that this kind of, as expected, does trade using breakouts of support and resistance levels. And here it says, leverages both support and resistance levels to identify prime trading opportunities. And this tends to be Wim's kind of flagship strategy. He likes building a whole cluster of different strategies around zones. And if you're curious as to a bit more about his methodology, I'd highly recommend checking out the interview he did with DarwinX, where he speaks a little bit more to his approach. From what I can see here, I think this current bot does follow more the style of trading which he likes. And here we can see that it does run 8 different variations of the strategy. And he's looking for breakouts of support and resistance levels. And that does tend to work very well with gold. Moreover, he is using a trailing stop loss and fixed stop loss levels too, which is a very smart thing to do. And executes 1 trade per strategy to keep operations clean. Okay, so I guess that by kind of having a bit of diversification built in, it can kind of smooth the equity curve. And moreover, it does adapt to the current value of gold. This means he's likely using some sort of ATR-based stop loss, or perhaps he's also using some sort of percentage of price-based stop loss, and that's quite neat. Moreover, regular updates are also included. So here we have a little bit more information in regards to the different settings which are provided with the bot. But from what I can see so far, it's very similar to the Gold Reaper and the Gold Trade Pro, where it trades essentially a basket of strategies around support and resistance breakouts for gold. And from what I can see to date too, most of his other bots have been very successful over time, so there's no reason why this one should also not be. There's no live signals posted here on the MT5 page. However, if we head over to MyFXBook, I went to Wim's profile. Struli is his MyFXBook username if you guys are interested to check it out. Not to be creepy, but I like to follow people on MyFXBook as well. And we can see that he's been running this here for a few months and has been showing very consistent returns and a very normal, honest equity curve, nothing crazy here, but it's looking pretty decent so far. If we look at the actual statistics in the history, we can first see that October was a good month for him. November and December were both a bit more modest, and now January to date has been good. That makes sense. November and December were both fairly low volatility months for gold, and they were more challenging periods of time to trade. So that does seem logical that a breakout style system, which trades more trend continuations, wouldn't have performed as amazingly then. But October was a good month, and as is January so far. So that seems logical to me. And if we look at the exact the statistics here, we can see the profit factor is excellent to date, but there's only 40 trades, so that might not be super statistically significant so far. The win rate is 58 and 75% respectively. And let's look at the average win versus the average loss. So yes, it's like a scalping system. So the average win is less than the average loss, so an inverted risk reward, but this is compensated by the high win rate. And if we look at the duration as well too, we can see that indeed it is more of a scalping system. Some trades go longer, but I think the majority of the strategies he's running are more scalping style, as we can see here. They're relatively short trades, some being more in the hours and some are almost like swing trades. So now let's pop over to MT5, where I've taken the liberty of downloading the backtest here, and so downloading the bot and running a quick backtest. And as you can see from the graph, and this was using, I think, a more modest default risk setting, we're having around a 10% return and a very kind of smooth equity curve here. I think because he is running such a large portfolio of bots, we are seeing a relatively smooth equity curve. So usually with like an inverted risk reward system, you'd see a staircase, or with a positive risk reward system, you'd see an inverted staircase. So staircase is like long run of winners, loss, long run, loss, versus inverted is the exact opposite, where you have kind of a bunch of losses and one big win, bunch of losses, one big win. This is almost like, it looks like almost like an equity curve, like equity curve, if that makes any sense, or like a portfolio equity curve. So the smoothness is likely due to the diversification. And if we go into the inputs tab here, we can see that plenty of different inputs, which you can essentially toggle between the different strategies to use, as well as perhaps some news filters and a bit of like different risk and lot sizing parameters. And here, Wim actually mentioned that we should run this on the 1 minute open, high, low, close. And usually I never do that, particularly if the bot runs on tick data. If it runs live on tick data and the developer is telling you to test on 1 minute open, high, low, close, that's usually a pretty bad sign, because 1 minute open, high, low, close always looks phenomenal. However, with Wim, there's a bit of an exception here, because my understanding is all of his bots actually run on candles. They don't run on ticks. So the trailing stop loss will not activate based on ticks, but will activate based on bar data. So because of that, I think it's reasonable to run on 1 minute open, high, low, close. And he also states this here. So backtest, yeah, you can use 1 minute open, high, low, close, because the EA only uses that anyway. So in this case, I believe that was actually a responsible approach to take, and that's why I ran it using that methodology. He also mentioned to run it on the daily chart. And here we can see that it is indeed clustering a whole bunch of orders. But let me quickly zoom down here into the 5 minute, just so we can get a better idea of how this works. And yeah, this is clearly a breakout system as he suggested, but there's quite a few different orders. So some of them have very short take profits and some of them have very, very long take profits. And this is a similar, or start trail, this is a similar approach to what he takes with his Gold Reaper system. So here we kind of have like at one level, it's opening multiple different trades, but with different take profit or start trail levels. What's quite interesting here is that it appears that all large clusters of trades are opening at the same point, which might be a little bit different to his approach for Gold Trade Pro and Gold Reaper, where my understanding that is like he almost has a zone and he places pending orders at different levels within that zone. Perhaps here he's kind of making his entries closer together and then focusing more on the exits as a way to actually kind of manage the trades. But let's run a visual back test here to get a better idea of how things work. Okay, yep, this definitely looks like one of his systems. It's running on the daily. And no, like the orders themselves are actually, they're not at exactly the same price level, but they're kind of stacking. Let me zoom out here on the 1 minute. Oh, no, can't go much further. Weekly M5 might be helpful. There we go. So from what I can see so far, it appears very similar to his other bots. The only difference here, maybe I'll pause to see, is that the most obvious difference, I'm sure there's more differences, is that the orders appear very, very close together. So in some of his other bots, there tends to be like, there are some with bigger deltas, but he's definitely clustering, or I think he's clustering a little bit closer here than typically he would. And perhaps that's because like based on current gold market behavior, he feels that this gives him a superior edge. But it'd be interesting to actually understand his reasoning behind that. I've also found that kind of the zones approach has not been working as well as more like the defined minima and maxima levels recently. So maybe he's seen something similar. But let me just keep quickly fast forwarding here and we can get an idea of how it looks running. So yes, large clusters of trades are opening. Sometimes the orders are very close together. Sometimes it's more of like a zone, as the name would suggest. And you can see it run here. So sometimes it looks like it's actually holding quite a few different positions open before closing here. This would be indicative of it more of a trailing stop loss because it kind of gradually follows it. And oops, let me pull this bad boy up. There we go. So this looks like, yes, indeed, trailing. Yeah, they're all trailing. Okay, so maybe just to wrap up here, this is another good bot from Wim, very similar to his existing bots. However, I think here the one difference I'm seeing is perhaps the entries are a bit closer together with more of like a spray of orders which are being managed with different like sizes of take profits or start trail approaches. And currently, like $150 for this bot seems like a very good deal in my opinion. Wim has been doing this for a long time. He's a smart guy. Not to sound like he's not paying me. I'm not to toot his horn too much, but it looks like it's actually a legitimate system. It's doing what he says it's doing. There is an ATR-based stop loss. It's trading breakouts. It's using a variety of different strategies to manage the trades. So to me, it looks quite solid, and I would encourage you guys to let me know if you have different experiences with it. So take care and have a great day.